Tino Patino joins us later in the show from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Does a great job handicapping NASCAR. Also on Tubi on the weekends. You can see him previewing NASCAR races there. Get his thoughts on the Food City 500 taking place this week in Bristol. On Sunday, the return of NASCAR after a week off for the Easter break. We'll also be joined by Robert Littell, the founder of Black Sports Online. Joins us every Friday on the show to discuss some of the top stories of the week. So we will get into it with him on some of the bigger stories of the week. We'll get into the Masters coming up in 10 minutes, as well as the second round is either underway or has been completed, depending on when you are watching this show. So we'll talk about that some as well. But we start things out as we always do on this Friday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story today is a story that's kind of taken place throughout the entire week. And anybody who knows me and has watched this show over the course of 2+ years, depending on where you are, and knows me, knows that I don't shy away from anything. If anything, I take on the stories and take on the opinions that a lot of people will stay away from because they're afraid of the sacred cows, they're afraid of the major media companies and burning bridges, and they want to keep their relationships intact. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know I don't look at them. I'm a good-looking guy. But after 30 years, I'm not looking to protect anybody or anything. I'll talk about anything. But if you've noticed this week, the one story that I have steered clear from is this story of Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel. And there is a reason that over the course of 30 years, I made a choice to not get close to the people I cover. There's a reason I always made a choice to not get close to the athletes I cover, to the coaches I cover. Because you could find yourself in a situation where something happens with that coach or a player, they find themselves in a compromising situation, and then you've got to pull your punches. Or your opinion is skewed by that relationship. So for that reason, I have always made it a point to not get close to the people I cover. And this is an example of why you don't get close to the people you cover. Because for me, it's very difficult for me to talk about this story in the context of whatever was going on with Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini, in a story where somebody is out there literally scoping out whatever they're doing in their private lives in Arizona and taking pictures and then shopping those pictures around to, outlets like TMZ and eventually Page 6 with the New York Post to try and get as much money as they can, which was reportedly, I believe, $8,000, according to the published reporting that's out there, to try and get this big scoop on something that that is alleged to have been going on between Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel. Now, full disclosure, I have texted with Dianna because I've known her for a while, and she's somebody I have a lot of respect for. And I've been texting her as Dianna the person, not Dianna the reporter, because I just want to make sure she's okay. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. If you look at social media, the cesspool that can be social media in instances like this, there's people that are just taking shots, people that don't know what's going on, people that are taking a snapshot and thinking that it paints the entire picture and that you're getting the entire panorama of what took place on this trip. And I don't know, by the way. While I've texted with Dianna, and I'll leave it at that, I won't go deep into our conversations because they're not that deep, frankly. But I don't know anything more. I haven't asked her whether it's true or anything like that because it's not my place. But you have this situation that is now played out, and I have steered clear of it because I can't give an opinion without it being skewed by what I know of this woman who I care for as a colleague and a friend in the industry, and look at it any other way. And I'm not one that's going to judge what's going on in her private life, her marriage of 6 years, Mike Vrabel's private life, his marriage of 27 years. Different things go on in different people's relationships and marriages. Everybody has different relationships. Now, there is the professional side of this. And the optics are bad. There's no getting around that. The optics are bad because of the pictures that have been published. Now, there's other pictures that have been published that show it in a different light with them with a whole bunch of people. But then there are just a few certain pictures that show them together in what looks like an intimate situation. I don't know what happened any more than you do. And I think everybody who is casting their opinions and foisting their judgment onto this situation needs to take a step back. Because none of us know what happened except Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel. And at some point, like anything else, all of this stuff is going to come out in the wash on the terms they decide to do it. My concern, though, is for Dianna the person. My concern is for Dianna the person that I've gotten to know on the air and off the air, who I think is a terrific reporter. And I'll also say this, and let me finish with this. The New York Times has stood by her and has opted to keep her in her role as one of the highest profile NFL reporters they have. If they're doing that, they must feel comfortable that this wasn't what it's being portrayed as. At least as of now, they must feel comfortable. That's where we'll leave it. Robert Littell will have his thoughts coming up a little later on in the show. That is the big story. Presented by our friends over at Colossus Fantasy. Pick'em games, peer-to-peer, they have it all. Use my promo code SportsWrap when you sign up. In the promo code section, use my promo code SportsWrap. On a $10 deposit, you get a $40 bonus. On a $20 deposit, get yourself an $80 bonus. Right now, download the Colossus Fantasy app. All right, we're coming back. We got a lot more to do on this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. The Masters is underway. I was looking for a storyline to get excited about the tournament. I think I have one. We'll get to it next. All right, welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. Got an extra segment to play around by myself before Robert Littell joins us. Coming up in 10 minutes. He'll have some thoughts on what we talked about with regard to Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel. I want to hear his opinion as somebody who has a journalism background, went to school for journalism, founder of Black Sports Online. So that's coming up in 10 minutes. We'll get into a whole bunch of different sports stories and items with him. So if you've been listening to the show throughout the week, I've been trying to find an angle. Something to get me excited about this year's Masters. And Sam and I did a segment on it earlier in the week where I was trying to see if he could motivate me, because I get assigned commission to write columns for MS Now, formerly MSNBC, for their website. I do some writing work. And I have to be passionate about what I'm writing. And MS Now was like, hey, write something about the Masters. And I was like, I don't really have anything for you. And Sam tried to give me some ideas. Maybe it's Scotty Scheffler, who hasn't really played that well this year, but he's trying to win. You know, Rory won last year, so there isn't really that much there. Is it the Live guys? Gary Woodland overcoming PTSD and winning a week or two ago. Is it Bryson DeChambeau finally capturing a green jacket? Who is it? What is the story? And then I watched the par 3 contest, which always captivates me. It's one of the most unique events in all of sports, the par 3 contest on Wednesdays at Augusta National. And then I watched the opening round of the Masters on Thursday with Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson and Gary Player opening up the tournament. The ceremonial first tee shots. And I got to watching the first round, and I was fully engrossed in the first round of the Masters. And then it hit me. The story is Augusta National. The story is the Masters. It doesn't have to necessarily revolve around one player. This is the one tournament where it's about the course. It's about the history. It's the 90th Masters. And it was one of those aha moments. And then you go through and watch the first round of the tournament. I'm not going to get into who's winning right now because there's even a scoreboard behind me that might flash. That is not the latest scoring because we put the show together around noon Eastern every day. So by now, the scoring has changed. The second round may be concluded. That's irrelevant. It's not germane to this conversation. Because to me, the story of the Masters is the entire leaderboard paired up against this course. Superimposed over this course. That's only going to get harder as the next few days goes on because you're not going to have a lot of moisture. Every year at the Masters, it feels like you get one day where some rain goes through. And it'll slow down the course just enough so that these guys could score a little bit. And there's all this talk this year at the Masters about the golf ball and rolling back the golf ball and changing the technology and the clubs and Bryson DeChambeau's 3D clubs and all this stuff. All this conversation around the game. But the ultimate equalizer at Augusta National, especially if you don't get any rain, is going to be the flat stick. And it's going to be who can putt. Who can make putts? That's why I liked Brooks Koepka a little bit when we were talking this week. The one area that he has struggled with is putting. He has hit the ball tee to green very well since coming back to the tour. And he's Major Brooks. If he can make some putts, I thought Brooks Koepka could be a threat. And he's hanging around on the first couple of pages of the leaderboard. But to me, the story of this tournament is the tournament itself. Yeah, there's no Tiger and no Phil for the first time in like 3 decades. And a lot of people wondered how we would feel watching this Masters without them being involved in it. And I think by the time we get to Sunday, nobody's going to care. Because if you look at the leaderboard as it stood after the first round, and unless all of these guys fall off the cliff, so to speak, and really struggle over the next few days, we're looking at a Sunday at Augusta National that could be one of the best. And again, I don't do hyperbole on this show. It could be one of the single best leaderboards we have ever seen at Augusta National with Sam Burns and Rory McIlroy and Justin Rose and Patrick Reed and obviously Scottie Scheffler doing what he does, and Xander Schauffele. All these major winners that are going to have the potential to make a run at the green jacket. And there's stories behind all of them. Nobody's going to be talking about golf balls or, the uniformity that golf needs behind golf balls or clubs or 3D irons or all these different things. They're going to be talking about a potentially great chase on Sunday at one of the iconic venues in all of sports. Not just one of the iconic venues in golf, but one of the iconic venues in all of sports. It's on anybody's bucket list, even if you're not a golf fan. If I gave you an opportunity to go watch the Masters at Augusta National, you're going. It's certainly on my bucket list. So I'll be plugged in for the Masters all weekend. Yeah, I'm bummed there's no Tiger and no Phil this year. Yeah, I'd like to, be able to, because we're all about nostalgia these days, right? That seems to be what everybody's grabbing onto. As you get older, you want things to, you want to be able to harken back to the things that made you happy when you were younger. The Masters is one of those things, it just never changes. That course, that venue, that iconic venue, it never changes. The golfers might. The weather might. But that venue never changes, and what it means to sports never changes. And in an era where everything feels like it's changing around us, the one thing you could be guaranteed of, Augusta National, the Masters, not changing. All right, we're coming back. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, will join us. We'll get some thoughts with him as we continue on this Friday edition of SportsWrap. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. If it's a Friday on SportsWrap, it can only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen. He's here. Our good friend Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, hangs out with us on the show. Talk about some of the top stories of the week. I save some of the juicy stuff for him. I really do. Sometimes salacious, sometimes thought-provoking. But always interesting, our friend Robert Littal, who's fighting a cold. So I appreciate you toughing it out with me today.
No problem.
So give me a thought here on, if you don't mind, give me a thought here on this Dianna Russini stuff. And before we get into it, I have to give a disclaimer. And I rarely ever have to do this. But I'm friends with Dianna. I've known her for a long time. We go back to my days in Connecticut when she was in Connecticut. And we're very friendly, and I've had conversations with her about this Mike Vrabel story, which, if people don't know, there were pictures of them taken, it's sold to Page Six, of her and Mike Vrabel with others at this adult resort in Sedona, I believe, and the pictures were interesting to say the least. We'll just say. Holding hands, laying by the pool together. Nothing too intimate, but intimate enough for some to suggest there could be something going on between two people that are happily married. I am going to abstain from really talking about it because I know a little more than most because I've talked to Dianna privately, and there's things I can't talk about. But I have not discussed it on the show at all this week, Robert. And I want to hear your thoughts as somebody who's kind of watching it from the outside, which is where 99% of people are watching it from, and sort of get your view from 30,000 feet on this story.
Well, it's this optics situation.
That's
here.
The same thing I say.
And it's a twofold optics. I'm married, okay? So I'm looking at it from one optics as someone that's been married for a while. And I think a lot of people who are in relationships are looking at it one way is, if your significant other, if you did not have knowledge previously and you saw, these type of photos, however you want to believe what was or wasn't happened, how would you, react, to that? And it does trigger a lot of people, maybe people that have had things happen to them before. There's a lot of videos of her jokingly, if you want to call it that, saying things about her husband that people think are disrespectful. I think that's the one I would say that is the Page Six. That is more of the Real Housewives, the more drama, salacious optics. I think maybe the more serious optic is the journalistic optics of it all. Is where is the line of someone that covers an individual, a team, a coach? What is the line that you have to stay on the other side of as far as your friendliness with that individual? Can we take what you say seriously when you report about someone, and she's reported about Vrabel for a while, when you're in the hot tub, with them? And is that line the same for all reporters? You know what I mean? Like, is there a double standard?
There is. Because as somebody pointed out to me, Jay Glazer had 20 head coaches over his house for a barbecue. Correct. And nobody's talking about all of them being involved in some crazy orgy at his house, despite the fact that there's 20 head coaches over there and he's reporting on them. Well, so to me, there is a double standard.
It's multiple double standards. I think there's definitely a man double standard in the sense that if Adam Schefter was having a drink with Mike Vrabel, it maybe get a little something, but not, that much. Like you said, we've known, like you said, Jay Glazer's trained with athletes and coaches that, he covers.
Yeah.
I think there's another double standard. I think this is totally different. If this was Josina Anderson and Mike Tomlin, that happened, I think, there's a double standard in regards of how fans see women reporters. And if this perpetuates a stereotype, does it make it more difficult for others? You've seen other women reporters not be particularly pleased about, what happened. And so it's a lot more layered than just this. My thoughts, and I've met Dianna just a few times, always been very nice to me. I've met Vrabel a few times. All I can say is I think that there should be a line where if you're going to cover someone, you shouldn't be looking at the sunset, with them. I also think there's a line if you're married. I would not like to see my wife at a hotel that promotes itself as a romantic getaway at the pool with another man. I mean, that's not insecurity. That's just about, respect of your spouse. Now, everybody's relationship is different. You don't know how this, goes. But I do think some of the criticisms are fair and just, it's life right now. And some of the criticism are maybe a little bit over the top.
Oh, there's definitely some chauvinism that is, I mean, the way people have piled on it without knowing the full story. None of us, even I, don't know the full story.
You only know what she tells you.
Right.
And the other people can only speculate. Only they know, honestly, what's going on. And, it's you don't want to speculate, but to say that it's a non-story, I think is too far to say.
Well, then from that perspective, does it interest you who has covered it and who hasn't?
Of course. Because I think if this was an athlete... let's say a married athlete, say this was Steph Curry, right, and Dianna, that just happened to be, this was after the All-Star game, something like that. And they're at the, on the beach or whatever, and they were caught. Same type of, I think it would be reported differently. I think Stephen A. Smith would talk about it. I think ESPN, would talk about it. Hey, why is this, why Steph Curry with Taylor Rooks? It's like, I think it would definitely be talked about, differently. I think Dianna, she works for The Athletic. I think there's some sensitivity to going too far with this. I think women reporters, because of some of the things that they have to deal with, there's a hesitation to say the wrong thing. Also, let's be honest, she may not be the only one that's ever done this before. And I think there are, especially at the higher levels where they get higher access, so they don't want basically to be throwing stones in a glass house.
I will say I think it is very interesting that The Athletic, which is the New York Times, has not taken any action against her. I
disagreed with their statement.
Yeah.
Because their statement, just to wrap it up, opens a Pandora's box.
All right. Well, hold that thought, because we're going to come back, because I got more I want to get to with you, aside from this story, and maybe a little bit more on this as well. We're coming back. More with Robert Littal. Sports Wrap on this Friday continues. Welcome back to the show. We're having a pretty deep conversation with Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, on this Dianna Russini story with her and Mike Vrabel being seen at a resort. And again, I'm kind of abstaining from my thoughts on it because I'm friends with Dianna, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to really opine, because my opinion would be coming from an angle as her friend, and so I'm really glad we have Robert on days like this. The founder of Black Sports Online hangs out with us, and we always talk about a lot of these interesting media stories. You were saying something towards the end about the New York Times. In their statement. Expand upon that real quick, and then I have some other stuff.
I would say the problem with it is not necessarily supporting your employee or anything. It's just like we said, we talked about that line. And when you say that, hey, this is no big deal, this is, how reporters sometimes, deal with their sources, it opens up a Pandora's box, because now, someone that maybe has been trying to do it, let's say, a different way, It's like, well, shoot, maybe I should go flirt with Sean McVay to get what I, need to get, Oh, maybe Andy Reid, maybe I take him out to get some barbecue or something. Like, it
Gotcha.
blurs the line of how far you can go. And there's nothing wrong with relationships. We all have relationships with athletes, with coaches, with each other. We're a big fraternity as it is. It's just, I don't think you want to open up the door to say that, hey, if you got to go to a private resort 2 hours away in a private bungalow to find out if you're going to trade for A.J. Brown, yeah, I just don't think that's just something that you want to, kind of say it's okay, because I think most people say it isn't.
Stephen A. Smith taking on everybody these days, it feels like, Robert Littal. First, making comments about, if I got a debate stage with Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, I'd wipe the floor with him, basically, because I don't dance, which is the most laughable thing in the world for him to say he doesn't dance, because I have Alex Ohanian on line one who came into your studio, smacked you down, and you didn't do anything about it. I have LeBron on line two who got in your face in the front row at a Lakers game. You did nothing about it. So I don't want to hear about your debate skills and how tough of a guy you are, because you're the guy screaming from the cheap seats at the people down on the floor, as far as I'm concerned, with regard to this political stuff. That being said, then there was the Matt Barnes side of this, because it just feels like every week somebody's either picking a fight with Stephen A. or he's picking a fight with somebody. Matt Barnes was the latest one this week, and somehow Steven Jackson got involved, and there was a whole bunch of smoke being blown into cameras' faces. That's all I know.
I'm starting to think it's pre-planned. I honestly do.
It can't be.
Because it has in 2026, we have not gone a week without either two athletes, two podcasters. It's normally Stephen A. Smith, maybe it's Jason Whitlock, sometimes Sage Steele. It's always there's more of that getting promoted. Then, the Final Four happened last week. Oh, the WNBA draft is happening here. It's more of that, and it's just so WWE. It's like they're cutting promos against each other. Nothing, it's just a circle.
But Robert, nobody's putting their foot down on it.
Nobody means it's nothing. And obviously people must like it because that's what they do. I said something yesterday. I was like, all of these people, including myself, are in their 40s or mid-50s. We should not be doing this. Like, we should be just talking to, Matt Barnes, the smoking, and man, you think you this, and this guy think you that, and you and this, and let me talk about Memphis for 3-5 days in a row. It's kind of depressing to me. I think the journalism that I grew up in seems to be dead, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it.
Move to Dawn Staley, because I'm interested to get your take on this, because I can't find anybody else who will say what I've been saying, which is the fact that she's gotten a pass for her reaction to Geno, because everybody's talking about, she's handled it so wonderfully. She said she was going to beat his ass 3 times, and everybody saw it on camera. Yeah, he's apologized twice, and she gets a pass magically for behaving the way she behaved. Granted, she's reacting to him.
Yeah. But
saying you're going to beat someone's ass repeatedly, literally physically threatening violence towards a guy, I don't know. Am I the only person that sees it this way?
Yeah, I think you said it yourself. I think it's because she was reacting to someone really kind of pressing, her. And also, I'll be honest with you, when you hear a woman say she's going to beat a guy's ass, it just doesn't have the same vigor as, someone that can maybe,
she might be able to beat his ass, though.
Yeah, I don't know what Dawn does in the gym. I don't know if she could throw a good jab or whatever, but, I don't think Geno is in fear or anything like that from an actual physical altercation. I think when you're upset and you didn't do anything to be, you didn't you're not the cause of it, you will say something. I think she's tried to diffuse it since then, and she's been very complimentary of Geno, which she didn't really have to be, to try to move on for that. I thought all the 17 apologies, by the time they got to the last one, I'm like, man, we don't even care anymore. We don't moved on. UCLA won. Nobody's talking about it. I'm like, it's like, I apologize. Here's another statement. Here's another statement. I'm like, this is 2026. We have very short attention spans. We've moved on to, to something else. Other interesting things are happening. But Dawn is very, she has vigor. She has a lot to it, but, she's protected in the sense because she's in a world that, are normally dominated by people like, Geno. So I think people give her a pass on that.
Real quick, you think she coaches in the NBA someday?
No, I think if Becky Hammond didn't get the NBA job, I think Becky Hammond would be first. Because of her experience, at college and with the pros assistant, and then with the WNBA winning those championships. I would think she would be the first one, and then maybe Dawn and something like that down the road.
Robert Littal is the founder of Black Sports Online. He's got a book coming out. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend. Feel better soon.
Okay, stay out of those hotels now.
Welcome back to the show. Good to have you all with us. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. If it's a Friday on SportsWrap, it means two things. One, Robert Littal is here, and we've already spoken with him. The founder of Black Sports Online joins us each week on the show to talk about some of the bigger stories of the week, some that we get to, some that we don't. But it also means this guy's here. The one and only Tino Patino. NASCAR handicapper. Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Hear him there on the weekends. See him on Tubi as well. And talks all things NASCAR with us on Fridays. So the Easter break, these guys got a week off for Easter. Just out of curiosity, what happens during that week off? Like for these guys, do they just go home? Like what are drivers, what are teams doing during this Easter break, Tina?
Yep, so a lot of the drivers go home, spend the time with families. It's a grueling 40-week plus season, yeah. But I do know for a fact crew chiefs, engineers, mechanics, crew guys, they're working. They're in the shops. Maybe take Easter off, which is great, spend the holiday time with their families, but they are in the shops. They are preparing. We want to throw out an example. Kyle Larson's on a winless drought. I do this because it's Kyle Larson. The drought is 31 races. But I know for a fact his crew chief, the race engineers, the people in the shop are putting together a plan. And when you look at this as a bye week, right? Well, you can kind of say Mike Tomlin after a bye week, very successful. Andy Reid, very successful. I think Cliff Daniels, Kyle Larson's crew chief, will be very successful after this bye week. You give them an extra chance to prepare, that's a team that's going to go to work and find a great outcome.
We haven't talked to you since you picked Chase Elliott. By the way, we were just talking off the air. You picked Chase Elliott to win in Martinsville, and then you didn't bet. You told me you didn't bet Chase Elliott to win in Martinsville. How is that possible? How are you dispensing advice on who you think is going to win and then not picking that guy?
That's fair. That's totally fair. After practice and qualifying, Chase wasn't really in the mix in terms of the top contenders like Denny. I needed to have Denny on my card. Needed to have Ryan Blaney as well. So after you get those two favorites, it's hard to take another guy. And Chase Elliott did win the race at Martinsville, but it was because of a crazy strategy play. They go in early, take some tires in pit road, and they get very lucky with the caution. So I'll say this, happy to be on the right side in terms of my advice before the week started, and the wrong side of if I'm going to lose, that's how it's going to happen.
All right, fair enough. So we have a race this week, the Food City 500 taking place in Bristol. This used to be a dirt track race years ago, which I used to love, and they don't do that anymore on NASCAR. So we've got this race in Bristol. Last year, who won it last year? Kyle Larson won it last year, which is funny because we're talking about his winless drought. Christopher Bell won it, I believe, in the playoffs.
In the fall, yep.
In the fall. So taking all of that into consideration, sort of what we've seen through the first 10 weeks of the season, give me your thoughts on this race, how it shapes up for you.
Well, one thing that we're going to be talking about in terms of the track itself is the temperature, right? So in 2024, we saw a crazy tire wear race, something teams didn't expect. They're running out of tires. Goodyear gave them more tires, and it became very exciting racing and interesting because you had to manage your stuff. People were running out quickly, and the fall off was very extreme. I don't expect that, and we also saw that in the fall last year as well. Goodyear and NASCAR has been working for a middle ground with that, right? They don't want it to be as extreme as it was. For fans and analysts, I love it, but I think in terms of drivers and racing product, you kind of want to find that middle point. I think they've made a tire now that they're discussing is that, but with the higher temperatures, that means more rubber will be laid down on the track, which results in less fall off. So I'm just going to get out here and say I don't expect to see this being a high tire wear race. If it is, the guys I'm still going to pick are going to be the favorites no matter what to win this race. Kyle Larson, we just mentioned, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin I can see up there. He's one of the favorites as well. Ryan Blaney, his last 3 finishes at this track, 6th, 5th, 4th. But to harp on Larson a little bit more, because I want to really showcase his dominance here. In the last 11 Bristol races, 8 top 5 finishes, 3 wins, and in the next gen era specifically, 946 laps led at this track. So you take all that into consideration, this could be the time where he breaks through and gets that win that he's missing.
So it sounds like you like him. Sounds like you're picking him.
Yes, I'll pick Kyle Larson this week.
So he is plus 340 to win this week, which other than like Shane Van Gisbergen on a road course is about the lowest odds or the best chances you're going to see for somebody to win in NASCAR is Kyle Larson at plus 340 as we kind of go through this season. Denny Hamlin at plus 470, then Ryan Blaney at plus 600. You got to go all the way down to 25-1 to find Tyler Reddick, who's won more races than anybody this year. Why is he not getting love at this track?
Similar to what we mentioned at Martinsville, in which he did have one of his better runs out of, short track racing, but that's just it. Short tracks don't fit his driving style. He likes the high intensity, high line, ripping the fence, finding the most speed off of quarter entry and exit type of tracks, and this just isn't it. Now, I don't expect him to have a good run here, but this is a great point for me to pivot to Bubba Wallace. Martinsville, I had high expectations for him, a top 5 day, and maybe even a win with the speed 2311 and Tyler Reddick have been bringing. That didn't happen, and he was in top 5 in the standings and has now dropped to 11th based off of how it shakes out with him being tied for 8th with a bunch of different people. I hope, and this is the consensus I would imagine in the garage, is a focused Bubba Wallace this week, a calm Bubba Wallace, a driver that's looking to get his get back, if you will, like go back and ultimately have a better race than he did at Martinsville, and look for something to prove to climb back up the point standing. So for him, I'm not saying a win, but he's a driver I have a hot eye on to sort of just right the wrong he did last week.
Got it. Tino Pizzino, catch him on NASCAR, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio this weekend on Tubi as well. He's picking Kyle Larson. You proceed with caution, I think, which is the appropriate word for Bristol this weekend. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. A few reminders before we go. First of all, SportsWrap weekends. The Monday through Friday version of the show, we love that you watch it, but we also have a 30-minute wrap-up edition of the show on the weekends. Everything we talked about from the week, put into a nice 30-minute show. It's great. Might be on this station. It might be on another station in your market. Check your local listings for time and schedule. We've also got the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. This is the audio version of this show, available Monday through Friday. We chop it down to about 45 minutes, take out most of the commercials, and you can listen to it, whether you're on the treadmill, on the drive to work, sitting on a plane, maybe waiting for your plane to take off. I've had people who tell me they listen to it there, while you're on the train, wherever you may be. If you got a few minutes and want to give it a listen, go and subscribe on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the Monday through Friday TV version of the show. Take it down to 45 minutes. We take all the commercials out. You can watch it there. Available every afternoon on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Companion podcasts are available there as well. The Sports Wrap Spotlight. Sports Wrap goes inside baseball every week with David Ardsma. Kurt Heelan joins us for the Sports Wrap NBA Weekly, our conversations with Dennis Bernstein. It's all there on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we invite you to go and do so. Sports Wrap Shorts also available there. 1 to 3 minute long videos. When news breaks, we jump in with Sports Wrap Shorts. You can go and check those out as well. SportsWrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, SportsWrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram as well, SportsWrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay on this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. How about the Knicks and Celtics last night playing a good one at Madison Square Garden? No Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. He was held out of this one with some Achilles tendonitis, I believe. But Jason Tatum back at Madison Square Garden, the site where he tore his Achilles during last year's playoffs against the Knicks. What many people would argue could have been the turning point of that series, even though the Knicks were ahead in the series at that point. But the Knicks able to get the win last night, 112-106. Josh Hart, some big buckets down the stretch for the Knicks. He led them in scoring with 26. Jalen Brunson had 25. I think Tatum had 24. He didn't shoot it particularly well, but it was good to see Jason Tatum back out on the court at Madison Square Garden. Certainly a mental barrier for him to overcome, and he did it last night. Even though the Celtics went down to defeat, they still hold the 2 seed in the East by 2 games over the Knicks with 2 games to play. Knicks own the tiebreaker. Knicks would have to win out, Celtics to lose out. Knicks likely to be the 3 seed, Celtics the 2 seed. We could see these 2 teams meet up again in the playoffs in the conference semifinals. Terry Rozier on your screen. Why? Because he's been released by the one and only Miami Heat. I didn't know he was still on the team, to be frank. It's been away from him since his arrest back on October 23rd, part of the big investigation into illegal sports betting, placed on leave because of his involvement in that, going back to his time with the Charlotte Hornets. Terry Rozier is out with the Miami Heat. Neymar. There's a name I didn't expect to bring up on the show today. Neymar making an appearance on SportsWrap in Odds and Ends. You remember when you had Miami in MLS go out and make their big splash and bring in a big name? Well, Neymar is obviously another name that is big in international soccer, right? Well, it was Messi for Miami. Maybe it's Neymar for Cincinnati. There is talk that Cincinnati has reached out to, people on the other side of the ocean to see if perhaps the former bringing the Santos star to the United States, see if maybe Neymar wants to come and play in MLS. We've seen it happen before. Obviously, it all began with David Beckham back in the day, playing for the LA Galaxy. We've seen Messi and the impact he has had on the sport here in the United States, going to play for Miami. Perhaps Neymar will be the latest name to come over to the U.S., potentially to play soccer, as they call it around the rest of the world, football, with MLS in Cincinnati. All right, one more before we go. Get you excited for the weekend. I want to just inject this into my veins for the weekend and help me get through. Last night, you've got the Rockies and Padres tied in the 12th inning in San Diego at Petco Park. Don Orsillo, take it away.
Bogey to deep left field! It's back! Slam Diego to walk it off! Bogey goes boom! Into a sea of San Diegans! Padres win at 12! In fantastic fashion for the faithful!
And apparently you get a jumbo jack from Jack in the Box, according to the bottom of the screen. Free advertising for them. That's going to do it for us on this Friday edition of the show. Can't get enough walk-offs, man. We should just do a segment every day with walk-offs on the show, shouldn't we? That would get everybody excited. It's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you to Tino Patino for hanging out with us, as he always does on Fridays. Robert Littell, the founder of Black Sports Online. Sam Yarnell all week. All our great guests. You for watching. I'm Jason Page. Check out the podcast, the YouTube channel. We'll see you back here on Monday or this weekend for more of SportsWrap. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half of they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.